There's a huge universe of companies in Europe which we as a firm look at and consider for investments, both in being appropriate from a geographic and a market cap perspective. We reckon there's about 2,500 companies all in which we could potentially invest in. And we as a firm see about 500 companies a year in about 700 individual meetings. And between only 7 of us as fund managers and analysts, that's quite a wide load. And that's very deliberate, because we like to cast our net as wide as possible so that we can generate as many different ideas as possible. But it presents us with a big problem. How do we take all of those companies, the 2,500, even the 500 who we meet with directly, and pick out the stocks that are going to make the best return for our investors? And there's 2 things that really excite me when I look at a company. 2 things when I'm reading through research, etc., make my eyes light up. And these are 2 things which we think probably other market participants always underestimate. And that is really strong quality growth and restructuring opportunities where strong management has perhaps come in from outside and is unlocking shareholder value. So to deal with the first of these, quality growth, right? We all, it's quite easy to see companies that are growing, companies that grow the top line, grow the bottom line better than their peers. And what we then really try to find are those that have really strong management and really strong industry positioning, and we think they will then sustain that growth for a much longer period of time. Now, interestingly enough, we have a lot of analysts that come in here from investment banks and various research houses and say, well, so-and-so is the market leader, however, we think that this other stock is much cheaper and that might be a little bit more attractive to you. And we'll often say, but why don't we just buy the market leader? Because in our experience, they tend to be the ones that outperform. And it's the same in anything in life, whether you're buying a car or a house or a refrigerator. If you really want the top quality goods, which are going to do the most for you, you have to pay a little bit more for them. And we find it tends to be worthwhile in the long run. The second thing, restructuring opportunities, is all about unlocking value. And I'll give you a little example here. We first started looking at a company about 2 years ago called TT Electronics. They make components, sensors, primarily now for the auto industry, but they used to be much more of a conglomerate, doing lots of different businesses, and it was a bit of a mess. They had too much debt, and some of these businesses were diluting margins and not really adding anything for shareholders. New management came in about 3 years ago and said they were going to turn the group around, make it less siloed, dispose of some of these businesses which weren't adding anything, bring the debt down, and then most importantly, through various changes to the way the company's managed, try to increase their margins from a level of about, last year, 4% up towards 8 to 10%. Now, this again really makes our ears prick up, because we think, well, if we meet a company and we get to know the management and we believe that they can do what they're going to say, some other analysts will say, okay, you say you want to get to 8, 9, 10%, we'll give you, maybe you'll go to 6%, we'll be cautious. In fact, usually they not only get to where they want to go, they often overshoot and perhaps get to 10, 12% margins, and the stocks will perform much, much better than a lot of people thought they would. So those are the 2 things that really excite us. And in conclusion, it's all about, when I first walked in the doors at SW Mitchell, it was kind of, where do you start? There's so much to look at, and I was given a very open brief. And it's those things which I was taught to focus on, and which I think really do characterize the best quality companies. So we find those, casting our net widely, focusing in on those qualities, and then put them into very, very focused portfolios which get the strongest return for our investors.